The Kavanaugh hearing today begs the question, how much does the public need to know about the people a president or they can put into office?
Shaun talks about that in this week's Reality Check.
Well, as always, I am joined by our awesome analysts, Mike Dino on the left, Dick Wadhams on the right. Well, as Congress wrestles with this 35-year-old sexual assault allegation, it raises the question, what is fair game when someone is running for public office? In our gubernatorial race, Walker Stapleton has been called out for a DUI from 20 years ago, and this week, a police report surfaced on Jared Polis from 20 years ago, in which he admits to blocking a former employee from leaving and pushing her because she was stealing company documents. Should these be issues in the campaign today? Dick, what do you think?
Well, I think the public deserves to know about all these incidents about the candidates. I don't think they define the candidates in terms of who they are as human beings or people, or even as candidates or how they would be in public office. But what concerns me about this environment we're in with this Kavanaugh situation is that with the advent of social media, we've got a whole generation of kids out there who are going to have a lot of bad stuff on the public record. And when they run for the legislature or for Congress, how bad is this going to get, this horrible thing we're in right now?
Does it depend, too, Mike, on how they respond to it today? If it happened so many years ago, is that part of it?
Well, I think people want to see how they react. I mean, and Dick mentioned social media. Social media is why these things are relevant, because it's out there in so many different places. Dick and I go back to an era when there were 2 newspapers and 3 news stations that controlled everything. And now it's out in the ether. And so everything is fair game. They're going to see it whether you report on it, the newspaper writers write about it, or somebody sends them a Snapchat about it. It's going to happen. And so that's what makes it relevant.
Yeah. So this week I did stories on both gubernatorial candidates' finances. In the case of Walker Stapleton, I found a big mistake on his financial disclosure form, while Jared Polis, I discovered, manages many of his investments in industries he would regulate as governor. So sloppiness versus conflicts of interest. What's more concerning here, Mike?
Well, I think that we're all just human, and we do expect some of our leaders really to be better than thou, and we're disappointed when they're not. And so I think we've got to change the way we view our candidates. By and large,
cut them a little slack.
We got to cut them a little slack. Make sure that they're, really not crossing the line, and trying to do the best job they can. And that's hard to figure out, because the partisan nature of it really does construe it terribly.
What do you think, Dick?
I think it shows that it's better to have a candidate who has no assets. because it's real simple.
We need public funding of campaigns.
Oh, no. No, it really, when you're wealthy and you're running for public office, you just have to be doubly careful about doing all these compliance forms and responsibilities.
All right. Well, finally, we have 2 transportation funding ballot measures this year. Proposition 110 would increase the state sales tax by 62 cents on a $10 purchase to bond for $7 billion. Proposition 109 uses existing revenue to bond for $3.5 billion. What are the chances? What do you think, Mike?
Well, I think the chances are challenging. Dick's old boss, Governor Owens, came out for 109, and I think Dick alluded to the fact that a similar package was passed when he was governor, where you did bond state funds, and so that's not surprising. I think voters, when you actually ask them to pay for transportation, they think a little too hard about it, and they don't always push the yes button.
Dick, you think?
Well,
both of them going down?
I think that could happen, or they both could pass. I mean, and that would be interesting as well.
Yeah, right.
I think the problem with the Chamber of Commerce tax increase proposal are the other tax increases on the ballot. I think the voters are going to get this long ballot, many pages, and they're going to see an education tax increase, and they're going to see that tax increase, and then locally they're going to see a bunch of tax increases. And I think that that could just be too much, and some voters will say, I don't like any of them. I don't. It's too much.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We're out of time, unfortunately. Thanks, guys. Jim and Karen.